Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely unpack a hidden scientific mystery, the definitive, hard biological science of sleep optimization and nervous system regulation. We're going to look way beyond basic sleep hygiene. Instead, we're exploring how your brain architecture, your autonomic nervous system, and your cellular biology are all fundamentally intertwined. We'll uncover how the exact same mechanisms that drive chronic stress and insomnia can actually be deliberately rewired for profound system-wide recovery. So, let's kick things off with a fascinating biological paradox that fundamentally reframes pretty much everything we thought we knew about relaxation. Think about this for a second. What actually happens to your cellular biology when your central nervous system genuinely can no longer distinguish between a physical reality and an imagined scenario? And this idea brilliantly illustrates our starting point. Neuroscience has revealed a stunning truth. Internally generated mental representations use a lot of the exact same neural circuitry that gets activated by real external stimuli. When you imagine a stressful event, your brain doesn't just, casually think about it. It physically reacts as if the threat is literally right there in the room with you. But crucially, this works in reverse too. When you systematically imagine a safe, restorative environment, your body generates a cascade of very real, measurable physical changes. All right, part 1. The brain's simulation engine. When you're focused on the outside world, regions like your right medial superior frontal gyrus, which you can kind of think of as your brain's external radar, are highly engaged, constantly scanning for inputs. But the moment you engage in structured mental imagery, that external radar essentially powers down. Instead, regions like the left supplementary motor area become highly active. You are literally redirecting your brain's blood flow and cognitive resources inward to manage and maintain these internal representations. Now, the crucial takeaway here is that this process actively engages your cognitive control network. This network acts like a master switchboard for your mental resources. It bypasses your brain's rational, conscious barriers. That means structured visualization isn't just some soft woo-woo wellness concept. It's a highly targeted cognitive command that forces your brain to process internal safety as an absolute physical reality. Moving on to part 2. Taming the amygdala. Your amygdala is essentially the ultimate threat detection center, tucked deep within your temporal lobe. When it perceives danger, and listen, it doesn't care if that danger is a physical predator in the woods or just a deeply annoying passive-aggressive email from your boss, it immediately fires up your sympathetic nervous system. In modern life, this emotion processing hub gets stuck in the on position, constantly and mistakenly interpreting the daily grind around you as a source of mortal danger. And when that hyperactive amygdala fires, it triggers the HPA axis. This is the biological alarm system that dumps stress hormones like cortisol and catecholamines directly into your bloodstream. It elevates your heart rate, spikes your blood pressure, and completely trashes your sleep architecture. If you've ever laid in bed feeling totally exhausted but frustratingly wide awake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, that's your HPA axis hyper-secreting cortisol and entirely blocking your body's metabolic recovery. But get this, because here is a wildly counterintuitive finding from the research. We all know slow-paced, deep breathing is a great tool, right? Well, clinical trials show it actually causes a transient surge in physiological arousal right when you start, before you eventually settle down. Guided imagery, however, behaves completely differently. Because it directly simulates a state of physical safety in the brain, it bypasses that initial anxiety spike entirely. It initiates an immediate, linear drop right into a deeply relaxed physiological state. By simulating safety, you trigger this incredible cascade of parasympathetic dominance. You get a profound downregulation of the HPA axis, a rapid decrease in circulating cortisol, and a significant drop in blood pressure. Your brain shifts out of high-frequency beta wave worry and glides right into alert, relaxed alpha wave patterns. You're drastically lowering your body's systemic metabolic demand, effectively slamming the brakes on burnout. Let's dive into part 3, the default mode network. So the default mode network, or DMN, is basically what turns on when you are not focused on the outside world. It generates your internal narrative, your daydreams, your sense of self. But there is a very dark side to the DMN. In stressed individuals or people dealing with insomnia, depression, or severe fatigue, the DMN gets trapped in an overactive loop. It transforms into this engine of chaotic self-referential processing, just constantly ruminating on past mistakes or spinning completely out of control, worrying about the future.
Spanning a few specific anatomical regions, the true secret of the DMN is actually its geography. It is situated at a maximum physical distance from your primary sensory systems. And because it's so physically disconnected from direct sensory input, it allows your mind to constantly wander away from the present moment.
And this is exactly why structured interventions are absolutely critical. Guided imagery acts as a brilliant biological hack to decouple this network. By forcing your brain to focus on highly specific, internally generated sensory inputs, like the imagined feeling of warmth or the visual of a calm room, you totally disrupt the DMN's chaotic noise. You modulate its connectivity, quieting clinical anxiety and replacing endless rumination with a deep sense of focused safety.
Which brings us to part 4, immunity, cortisol, and sleep. Now, when you are chronically stressed, your body literally suppresses a critical protein called secretory immunoglobulin A, or SIGA. This is the most abundant antibody in your mucosal secretions, like your saliva. It acts as your primary defense barrier through a process called immune exclusion, where it physically blocks viruses and bacteria from invading your tissues. And it does this without triggering damaging inflammation, which is amazing. But it is terrifying that chronic, everyday stress completely shuts down its production, leaving your antiviral barriers completely compromised. But here is where it gets crazy. Clinical trials have demonstrated that when you guide the brain into transcendent, relaxed states, you can rapidly reverse this immune suppression. One rigorous study measured a massive 49.5% median increase in SIGA levels following these deep mind-body interventions, almost 50%. You are literally upregulating your cellular immune defense simply by altering your brain's perception of safety. When we look at the electrophysiological dynamics during these states, we see restorative alpha waves rising significantly, which signals an alert but relaxed state. We also see increases in deep, highly restorative delta waves, and at the exact same time, those high-frequency beta waves, the ones associated with cognitive strain and active worry, just absolutely plummet. Ultimately, this biological switch does something truly remarkable for your sleep. By clearing out that excess serum cortisol, you allow your body's natural melatonin curves to finally normalize. You are physically pulling your body out of a catabolic, tissue-breaking stress state and pushing it right into an anabolic, restorative state to fully optimize your nighttime recovery. All right, let's wrap this up with part 5, protocols for deep regulation. How do we actually do this? A perfect foundational step is mind-body expert Cara Bradley's high-definition sensory awareness protocol. This is a progressive sequence that physically trains your brain's attentional networks. You start with macrovision, basically noticing the wide space around you. Then you zoom in to microsight, focusing on immediate textures. Next, you transition to microsounds, like the subtle sound of your own breathing. And finally, you shift to interoception, where you just neutrally observe your internal thoughts as passing events. You're intentionally stepping your brain out of external threat detection and into deep internal regulation. Alternatively, you could look at highly structured protocols like Yoga Nidra, which is often called yogic sleep. Clinical research shows that combining guided imagery with total physical stillness drastically improves total sleep time, boosts sleep efficiency, and, maybe best of all, significantly minimizes the time it takes to fall back asleep if you do happen to wake up in the middle of the night. So I'll leave you with this final, profound thought to ponder. Neuroscience has absolutely proven that your brain processes structured imagination with the exact same biological weight as physical reality. You now have the scientific blueprint to hack your autonomic nervous system, downregulate your stress hormones, and optimize your cellular recovery. Knowing you have this incredible power, what simulation will you choose to run next?